Tonight we start a new study. This study is entitled Tough Love. This first part is entitled, This is Not a New Concept. Tough love is a terminology first used back in 1968. I did not know this. I found some of this information out as I was going, by an author named Bill Milliken, who wrote a book by the same name, Tough Love. And it was describing a method that is utilized to both support and strengthen individuals who are trapped in some type of struggle. And when we identify the three main people tough love have been used on, I find one of them a little bit humorous to consider a life struggle. So I put that title there and I thought, oh, this one may not work, but you'll see when we get there. Two-word phrase describes a very, very successful tactic when done properly, when done thoroughly, but only when both words of the phrase are applied. Tough love. Other words that describe this phrase, and you'll find them in the book, are things like arduous adoration, tough love, aggressive affection, focused fervor, disciplined devotion, firm fondness, and even stern concern. Those were all clever, so I included those. Tough love is also said to be the firm but gentle tactic that so many people embrace and may not know where it's sourced from. Tough love is the promotion of an individual's welfare with attention on the identified corrections and or development needed for that individual. So this is someone struggling in a life struggle, as I said earlier, and there's a specific attention placed on them for whatever it is they're struggling in. Those that are normally targeted, and these are the three I was going to tell you about on the last slide, that need improvements are, but not restricted to. So this is not the only list, but clearly these are the three areas that when people say tough love, they're usually addressing one of the three. Addicts and addictions go a lot of different directions. So addiction is one of the larger categories here. But here's the one I thought was a little humorous. Children, they're stuck in a life struggle called childhood, and criminals. And so tough love has been very, very effective with these three categories, but more. Success results from, now watch this, imposing constraints and requiring them to accept accountability for whatever it is they're doing to be identified as poor behavior or something that needs correcting. This is a method of encouraging their own personal effort through deliberately restricting, that's the constraints I spoke of, the assistance of others. This is a do it on your own method with guidance, with counsel. In theory, tough love is intended to, watch this, not help. Tough love is intended to not help the challenged person more than they might be able to do given their own devices. A little bit of counsel, a little bit of guidance, but they have to do it themselves. That's the tough part of tough love. The individual can learn, the thought is, the individual has a better opportunity to learn from in their difficult time from the experience in itself rather than being rescued by someone else. So then they're better equipped due to the lessons that they learn in the middle of this struggle later in life. So those same loving people may not be in their inner circle 10 years from now, 20 years from now. So the lessons learned today, they're going to have to apply on their own later. And that's why they're left to themselves in a lot of these. Watched, guided, but left to themselves. Half of the phrase tough love is love. And that's a part people can't miss. Usually when they hear tough love, the focus is all on the tough part of it, the intolerant part of it. But it's important to understand that love is the key. If the motivation of love is absent, the application of the entirety of the phrase becomes punitive. The approach is then punitive and even cruel, given the being left alone and given the solitude that tough love includes. So tough love involves a willingness to do the challenging things, born from a heart filled with love. Generally, we think of tough love as choosing some type of hard approach to discipline, refusing to enable one's harmful behavior from happening, and comparing the errors to other people who have gone through similar experiences. That's why we've learned so much from those who are struggling in addiction, whether it's drugs, alcohol, other defining things that one gets addicted to. That's why we use the experiences of others to help those who are currently in such a trap. Tough love is never, never, never demeaning, nor violent, nor harsh. Tough love is steady, secure, honest. Tough love is never with a spirit that's harmful or mean-spirited is a better way to say that. Tough love is absolutely never abusive. So again, it's important to understand that love is the base of tough love. The directness is the tough part. The sternness is the tough part. The intolerance is the tough part, but not mean. Tough love is a term applied when a person cares enough to do the right thing for someone that they truly love, rather than doing what comes easy, the easy thing, just to appease this individual. That's when we start enabling bad behavior. Tough love is the opposite corner to enabling. Love, when communicated in an unsentimental manner, that's what tough love is. Love, when communicated in an unsentimental manner, with intent to encourage improvement and responsible behavior, is just one more way to describe tough love. So again, it's that directness, that I'm not going to get emotional about this. I'm just going to stay steady in my approach with guiding this individual. Strictness is delivered as a non-negotiable. This is not something we're going to talk through. This is what is needed. Strictness is delivered as a non-negotiable. Absolutely, though, it's never through an authoritarian approach. Love is always, always throughout the approach. Another way to conceptualize tough love might come through the idea of someone communicating truth in love. Tough love involves actions as well as words, but no matter how difficult it might be to receive or how difficult it might be to share, truth must be spoken and truth must be acted upon through love, via love, by way of love, always. Truth without love is brutality. You ever meet someone who says, well, I'm just telling you the truth, and then they deliver a harsh message that is lost in the almost the cruelty or the brutality of it, and you don't know that love is in that at all. In fact, it seems kind of mean-spirited. So truth without love is brutality. Love without truth is hypocrisy. There is no love without truth. That's just phoniness. I remember someone once said to me, sometimes people will say to me, love you, or I love you, or they express a love to this individual, and they said, I don't even know them. How can they love? Love without truth is hypocrisy. We have to be really careful, even about our communicating through truth. Strong parents tolerate inconveniences. Hear this again. Strong parents tolerate the inconveniences of wise discipline with their children. Tough love. An example, they refuse to rescue their children from the consequences of their poor behavior. It's inconvenient to go this distance when there probably could be a much quicker way to handle things. A poorer way, a bad decision from the parent, but an easier way for the parent. The parent has to choose. The better way, the wiser way to discipline is more important than my inconvenience. When love is uninvolved, the motivation for discipline becomes selfish and can quickly become neglectful, even abusive. When a parent is only focused on, when someone trying to help someone else is only focused on quickness and getting it done as fast as possible because I don't have the time, and they do whatever it takes to apply some type of discipline, normally it's going to fail. And as I point out, it's neglectful. And worse yet, it can become abusive. The easiest, fastest way to do this is to some type of physical pain, and that seems to fail in almost every case imaginable. When love motivates, proper discipline helps teach the child correctly and equips them for a healthier adult life. It's the teaching that's critical here. It's the taking the time to help them get from A to B. The word says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. Tough love also takes place in adult relationships. When a loving friend, as an example, when a loving friend to a family is treated firmly but gently, they're confronted about some harmful behavior that they might be involved in, that's love. That's tough love. When desire to help is greater than fear of offending. Again, what I mean by fear of offending is I won't say anything because it may be too hard for them to hear. But at the same time, I don't want to offend with such abruptness as I spoke of earlier. When desire to help is greater than a fear of offending, they can help free the other person from the bonds of whatever their bad behavior is. As I identified earlier, sometimes it's just generally childhood. I thought that's just so funny. But from normally serious bad behavior, but tough love does apply in child rearing. Correcting others without love usually is sourced in judgment. Tough love also occurs within families in this sense. Consider when needed boundaries are created for the poorly behaved. And this is extended families as well. So you have to take the harder road to help someone correct someone. Again, we don't want to be enablers. Tough love was seen back in 1968 as innovative. Yet, David wrote this: the thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. The thing that hath been, it is that which shall be. We see it in the past, it'll come to fruition in the future, is what he's saying. And that which is done is that which shall be done. We see it in the past, we'll see it in the future, is what he's saying. And then he concludes this way: there is no new thing under the sun. So as innovative as tough love seemed to be in 1968, maybe tough love is not as innovative as it seemed back then. Maybe it's not just a reiteration, but also not a new iteration. May not just be as innovative as we believe. It may be much further back in its source. Maybe real love, real genuine love, is in itself tough love. What is love? So let's get there. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I think we had a seminar actually on the Greek love. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time. But there are 8 Greek loves: Eros, Philia, Agape, Storge, Mania, or Mania, as we say it here, Ludus, Pragma, and Philatia, I think is how that's pronounced. And I may be messing that one up. Or most have that down to just 6, actually, and a couple are dropped off. But the Bible, the Word of God, not just the Bible, the Word of God speaks to 4 types of love. So that's brought down even more so just to 4. Agape, which is a love for others. Eros, which is romantic love. Philia or filio, in some cases it's written that way, is love for friends. And storge or storge, depending on how one pronounces that, is familial love. That's what is directed to in the Word of God. So agape love is not a feeling, but a motive for some action, taking action. Agape love is sacrificial, suffering inconvenience. And you heard me talk about that earlier. Suffering inconvenience, discomfort, even death for the benefit of others. We just came away from Memorial Day, agape love. Agape love expects nothing back for the sacrifice made. It is just pure generosity. One cannot agape love, if you will, God. So I'm going to use those together and I'll say it again. One cannot agape love God and not agape love others. The word says this: he that loveth not his brother, and there's more to this, I shortened it down to this. He that loveth not his brother, how can he love God? One cannot agape love God without obeying him. There is no "I love you, Lord," and then that's the last you hear from him. If you love me, says Jesus Christ for his Father, keep my commandments. Philia love is most often within the relationships or friendships, close friendships. It's generous, affectionate, and seeks to please others with no expectation for that kindness to be returned. Philia love is not naturally expressed to our enemies. It's set apart and utilized only for our close friends. So God calls us to show agape love to the unlovable, those who are not just in our circle of friendship. He says it this, Jesus Christ says it this way: love your enemies, do good to them which hate you. Now, if you read all of Matthew 5:44, you'll see it goes much more than that. But this captures it. Love your enemies, do good to them which hate you. God's compassion for us is what opens up loving more. We love him because he first loved us. Again, what is love? So in conclusion, just for tonight, the study that I spoke of earlier, called Tough Love, introduced in 1968, this study that we're going to jump into is going to be a redefining of what was redefined in 1968. So we're going to take what Millikan did, and we now are going to realize in this class that it's a restating of what the Lord said much earlier. But we're going to take that phrase and get a little more creative with it. As I said earlier, maybe all real love is tough love. So 1968's publishing of the book, An Explanation, is at the very best 1950 years after the retelling of the introduction of tough love. 1968's publishing of that book is actually 3,500 years or so after the delivery of tough love, when the commandments came down from Mount Sinai and said, love God. The theory of this study, tough love, will actually simply be love is tough. In all God's demands for us to love, love is tough. My case that I'm going to make is that anytime we're told to love, that's tough love. Hate is natural. When someone harms you, your immediate reaction is to harm back in a natural mindset. Hate is natural. Love is spiritual. Love is the challenge. Hate is what comes easy. Hate then is easy. Love is tough. This is the direction this class is going to go. We're going to be better skilled and better filled with love so that we might truly represent the love that Jesus Christ carried, so that when he says to love, we're going to try to understand that a little bit better.